This is the sarcophagus of Junius Bassus. The sarcophagus of Junius Bassus is a marble early Christian sarcophagus used for the burial of Junius Bassus, who died in 359. The sarcophagus was originally placed in or under Old St. Peter's Basilica. It was rediscovered in 1597 and is now below the modern basilica in the Museum of St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. The base is approximately 4 by 8 by 4 feet. This sarcophagus is one of the oldest surviving high-status sarcophagi, with elaborate carvings of Christian themes and complicated iconography embracing the Old and New Testaments. Junius Bassus was an important figure, a senator who was in charge of the government of the capital when he died at the age of 42 in 359. Bassus served under Constantius II, son of Constantine I. Bassus, as the inscription on the sarcophagus tells us, converted to Christianity shortly before his death, perhaps even on his deathbed. Many still believed at the time of Bassus that it was not possible to be an emperor and a Christian. The style of this work has been greatly discussed by art historians, especially as its date is certain, which is unusual at this period. The workmanship is of the highest quality available at the time, as one might expect for the tomb of such a prominent figure. The scenes on the sarcophagus are three-dimensional and have depth and background. Drapery hangs on recognizable human forms, rather than being arranged in predetermined folds. Heads are varied and portraying recognizably different people. The carvings are in high relief on three sides of the sarcophagus, allowing for its placement against a wall. The column and many parts of the figures on the sarcophagus are carved completely in the round. The sarcophagus has been seen as reflecting a blending of late Hellenistic style with the contemporary Roman or Italian one, seen in the robust and short proportions of the figures and in their slightly overlarge heads. The figures are raised above the background, creating shadows and giving a chiaroscuro effect to the piece. No portrait of the deceased is shown on the sarcophagus, though he is praised in lavish terms in an inscription on the lid. Instead, the sarcophagus is filled with scenes from both the New and Old Testaments, plus one that has no scriptural basis at all. The scenes on the front are, in order, the sacrifice of Isaac, the judgment or arrest of Peter, the enthroned Christ with Peter and Paul, a scene of the trial of Jesus before the Pontius Pilate, and the Pontius Pilate washing his hands. On the bottom row of the front, it depicts Job on the dunghill, Adam and Eve, Christ's entry into Jerusalem, Daniel in the lion's den, and the arrest or execution of Paul. You can see all of these scenes in the picture on the screen. The sides of the sarcophagus have more traditional Roman scenes of the four seasons, represented by putti performing seasonal tasks such as harvesting grapes. On a damaged plaque surmounting the lid of the sarcophagus is a poem praising Bassus, and the inscription running along the top of the body of the sarcophagus identifies him and describes him as a neophyte, or recent Christian convert. Further small reliefs on the lid and heads at the corners are badly damaged. They show scenes of feasts and a burial procession typical of pagan sarcophagi. It is possible that the lid was not created to match the base, because it shows pagan scenes rather than Christian ones. However, this combination of pagan and Christian art represents Bassus's belief in two different religions. The emphasis on scenes of judgment may have been influenced by the career of Bassus as a magistrate, but all the scenes shown can be paralleled in other Christian works of the period. In all the three scenes where he appears, Christ is a youthful, beardless figure with shortish hair, though longer than that of other figures. Christ appears in the center of both rows, in the top as a lawgiver or teacher between his chief followers Peter and Paul, and on the bottom entering Jerusalem. Both scenes borrow from pagan Roman iconography. In the top scene, Jesus is sitting with his feet on a billowing cloak representing the sky, carried by Salus, the classical personification of the heavens. The Old Testament scenes depicted on the sarcophagi were chosen as precursors of Christ's sacrifice in the New Testament, in an early form of typology, which is an art combining the ideas of the Old and New Testament. In one scene, Adam and Eve are shown covering their nakedness after the fall of man. Behind Eve is a lamb, and beside Adam a sheaf of wheat, referring to the sacrifices of their two sons, Cain and Abel. Just to the right of the middle is Daniel in the lion's den, saved by his faith, and on the left of this is Abraham about to sacrifice Isaac. In the bottom corner, Job is seen at the point when he has lost everything, but still retains his faith. Christians saw these scenes as foreshadowings of the sacrifice of God's only Son, Jesus, though the crucifixion itself, a rare subject until the 5th century, is not depicted on the sarcophagus. The scenes demonstrate to the viewer how the heavenly crown could be achieved by ordinary Christians, although the imperial persecutions were now over. The sarcophagus was created soon after Constantine made Christianity legitimate. The depictions of Christ on the tomb are unlike typical representations at the time. Christ is shown as a teacher or philosopher, holding a scroll, and he appears very youthful. Christ is shown sitting with his feet supported by the Roman sky god Salus. The sarcophagus of Junius Bassus is filled with iconography of ancient Roman polytheism in a new Christian context, which shows that Christianity was surmounting old traditional religious views.